Oh my God, say it ain't so. The Confederacy was right once again. I know a lot of people are curling their toes in their shoes when I say that. But they were right when it came to spending, and believe it or not, they were right when it came to slavery. Because at the time in 1860, 1861, the United States Congress did not have the power to regulate or control slavery because there was nothing in the Constitution that gave them the power to do so. If it's not in there, you can't do it. Yeah, well, that means that the South can't secede. Well, actually, they can because there's nothing in the Constitution that prevents a state from seceding. So we cleared that up. So this isn't about secession, this video, or about slavery, but I need to put that out there because we can learn a lot from the Confederacy, from the CSA. We can learn a lot about government and how it actually was supposed to work. And it's actually the states that come first, not the federal government. So taking a look at the headlines regarding this spending bill to avert a government shutdown, which actually would be the best thing for the United States government right now. The best thing for them to do would be to shut down for the next 2 or 3 weeks, which they actually normally do every year around this time because it's Christmas time. It's the holidays. It's all smoke and mirrors, in my humble opinion. But over at NBC, House passes bill to avoid government shutdown. By the way, welcome back to the channel, Culture Confederacy here. It's Saturday morning. And if you're new to the channel, no fancy graphics, epic soundtracks, pretty boy camera angles. It's you, me, my smartphone, the news of the day, and this mission, this crusade to preserve great art, music, history, and culture. And for those of you who have been following the channel, thank you again for watching, subscribing. Now, I normally post something Friday nights, but I couldn't because it was noisy around my apartment building. And by the time I had to lay down for work, get some sleep, it was too late to post anything. So I said, okay, I'll just post something on my downtime at work. But again, over at NBC News, House passes bill to avoid government shutdown, sending it to the Senate before the end of the world. No. Don't you wish they would just show the entire headline? Well, they can't because of space. When you go to look this up on the internet. Over at Fox News, House vote imminent on plan to avert government shutdown. Now, I do have a bone to pick with Trump. I think it was wrong for Trump to give leeway to extend the debt ceiling for 2 years. That would have never happened with the Confederacy. Ever. They would have told you to go take a hike. Over at the New York Times, this is funny. Government shutdown live update. Because it's the end of the world. But here's the kicker. The creme de la creme. CBS News. TSA union leader in Pittsburgh explains impact of potential government shutdown. TSA union leader in Pittsburgh explains impact of potential government shutdown. The TSA, pardon me, getting long-winded here, choking up. But the TSA is some form of government or some type of government agency. Again, that would have never happened with the Confederacy. All these agencies, whether it's the spending for the FBI, the USDA, the IRS, you name it, all these agencies, they're not constitutional. There's nothing in the Constitution that specifically says you must have an FBI, you must have an IRS, or you must have a USDA or FDA. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that. So why do we have these agencies that waste taxpayer money every year for what? It's bloated bureaucracy. Something that the Confederacy was staunchly against. They saw the writing on the wall with all these corrupt nor the public works projects, especially with things like the railroads. The Confederacy had it going on. So, at any rate, I'm having fun, folks. So let me read you part of the CSA Constitution. And this is in Article 1. And here you thought it was all about slavery. That's why they seceded. It was all about slavery. Well, as you're going to see here, no. Again, this is not a video about slavery or the Confederacy and why they seceded. This is about what's going on with the government shutdown or this potential government shutdown. But this is what the Confederacy had to say about it in their Constitution. Article 1, Section 7. All bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may propose or concur with amendments as on other bills. Every bill which shall have passed both houses shall, before it becomes a law, be presented to the President of the Confederate States. If he approve, he shall sign it, but if not, he shall return it with his objections to that house in which it shall have originated, just as with the United States Constitution. After such reconsideration, 2/3 of that house shall agree to pass the bill. It shall be sent together with objections to the other house, by which it shall likewise be reconsidered. And it goes on to say here about the president, if any bill shall not be returned by the president, by the way, in the CSA, the president could only serve 1 6-year term, could not get reelected. If any bill shall not be returned by the president within 10 days, Sundays excepted, after it shall have been presented to him, the same shall be a law in like manner as if he had signed it, unless the Congress by their adjournment prevent its return, in which case it shall not be a law. The President may approve any appropriation and disapprove any other appropriation in the same bill. In such case, he shall, in signing the bill, designate the appropriations disapproved and shall return a copy of such appropriations with his objections. So the President in the CSA had the power of the line item veto. So you go to Section 8, just a couple paragraphs down, that talk about the powers of Congress to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposed, and excises for revenue necessary to pay the debts, provide for the common defense, and carry on the government of the Confederate States. But no bounty shall be granted from the Treasury, nor shall any duties or taxes on importations from foreign nations be laid to promote or foster any branch of industry. So you would not be seeing this fight in the Confederate Congress to avoid a government shutdown, because it probably, most likely, would have not happened. This isn't to say that people wouldn't have had disagreements about spending, but I can damn well guarantee you that you wouldn't have seen in the Confederacy what you're seeing now with the United States government, with our Congress, because the CSA Constitution prevented this type of thing from happening. Congress also has the power to borrow money on the credit of the Confederate States, to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes, but neither this nor any other clause contained in the Constitution shall ever be construed to delegate the power to Congress to appropriate money for any internal improvements intended to facilitate commerce. The only exceptions, as they mentioned here, would be for necessary infrastructure. And they listed here, such as furnishing lights, beacons, buoys, and other aids to navigation upon the coast. If you're from Florida or you're from anywhere along the Gulf Coast, you know how important maintenance of those harbors and those bays or inlet areas are. So that's why that was put in this was put in the CSA Constitution. And the improvement of harbors and the removing of obstructions in river navigation. All which cases such duties shall be laid on the navigation facilitated thereby as may be necessary to pay the cost and expenses thereof. The post office in the CSA had to be self-efficient. I'm not kidding you. It's right here. Let me find it. To establish post offices and post routes, but the expenses of the post office department after the first day of March in the year of our Lord 1863 shall be paid out of its own revenues. So again, there would be no appropriations in the CSA Congress and their spending bills for the post office, for the TSA, for the FBI, for the USDA. You're on your own, kid. There wouldn't be, as the headline says here at Hawaii, let me find it here, Hawaii News Now, Maui relief inside package to avert government shutdown. States had to be responsible for their own infrastructure. They had to be responsible for their own spending. But isn't it funny that the CSA, the Confederate States of America, which everyone loves to diss on because of slavery, yet at the same time, 1860, 1861, slavery was still legally recognized under the United States Constitution because of the Fugitive Slave Clause and, of course, because of the Dred Scott decision. So the Confederacy was right about the government regulating this, that, or the other, that they could not regulate slavery at the time. They're right about them spending money on these bogus public works projects because they knew it would lead to corruption, and they saw it happen. They saw it happen for years, not just under Lincoln, but for years, decades. But this aversion of a government shutdown, this fight, would not be happening in the Confederacy. Because, again, their Constitution forbade the use of government money to foster industry for internal improvements. I think there's a lesson there. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. You can follow me at Instagram, #JasonComposes, because I write music in my spare time. You can now find me at Substack or go to X, Culture Confederacy, at Culture Confed 1 on X. This is the Culture Confederacy. Oh, and I got to mention this. Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro was channeling the Confederacy Thursday because he was saying he didn't agree with these appropriations for, financial relief for, let's say, Florida or South Carolina or Hawaii or Georgia after these disasters, natural disasters. If these states learn to be more self-sufficient and got off the government teat, we'd be a lot better off. So again, this is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out, stay safe, everybody. God bless this thing called the United States. I'll catch you next time, and you all have a great Saturday. Take care.